Welcome to Disc and Ball's Golf Channel's first round coverage of the 40th annual Victoria Open from Victoria, Texas. The Victoria Open is brought to you by Golden Crescent Disc Golf Club out of Victoria, Texas, along with Mint Discs with their Heart of Texas tour, and of course, One Star Disc Golf. First round coverage today is from Patriot Park and features Mason Ford, Chandler Kramer, Alan Rohan, and Thomas Mathson. Jumping right into the first hole, it's a par 4, 635 feet. The road and beyond is OB. A lot of people, especially in this wind, are going to be throwing a forehand that kind of lands around where the drone is flying over now. Some shots, if they're bad off the tee, will lead to a layup out to the right. There is an island green, and the island has shrunk since last year. But because of that huge left to right wind, I recorded this in the morning, or the drone flight in the morning, and it was bad in the morning and it even got worse throughout the day. Here is Alan. I'm not sure what he's throwing here, but good, safe, straight shot. That's the key here. Next up, Mason Ford. Now with Mint Discs, he won this tournament last year. He's throwing a goat off the tee there, if I recall. I'm nearly certain. I didn't get a chance to write that down, but yeah, he was with Dynamic Discs last year. Changed sponsors at the end of the year. This is Thomas Mathson, and you can hear this wind is just ripping. But he does skirt back in, stays away from the OB. Definitely flirted with it though, but ends up being inbounds. Next up, Chandler Kramer, sponsored by Lone Star Discs. He's throwing a Warbird here, I think. And that needs to flare, and it gets a weird anti-skip out of bounds. Super unfortunate. I think he's throwing a Bowie from 349, and this actually drifts along. It just glides like crazy, and yeah, rough way to start. Here's Alan, 306 feet. I can't tell if that's an Invictus or a Monster. He has two of the really similar colored discs, but wow, look at that wind just eat that thing on the ground. Thomas here. Forehand approach. And he's on the island with a chance at birdie. Mason Ford. Throwing something pretty beefy. Maybe a Bobcat, I don't know, but very nicely executed. Leaves himself with the downwind putt, which is very, very important out here. Thomas throws up a little wobbler, maybe expecting a little lift. Chandler, I think this is to save 5. It's a touch low. Alan, outstanding birdie, especially in that wind. He had a little bit of a headwind. Mason for what would normally be a tap in, probably about 13 feet. Makes the birdie. Not so much of a tap in today. Like I said, the wind is going to be a common thing here. So number 2, OB all on the left side. It's another par 4, 623 feet. Anything past this tree gives you basically a wide open shot. They've pushed the basket back for this tournament. Normally it's right about here. You can see the little gopher hole looking area, but they've pushed it back, kind of adding a little distance. Now it takes 2 very solid shots for the most part to get there. Alan gets us a little nose up, and ends up going OB. Mason throwing a goat. I think think that's the newer swirly glidier goat. And he smokes that. Like, catch cam is just behind that tree there, so should be a very routine approach. Thomas Mathson. Very nice. And Chandler Kramer going to the Warbird. I think it's the same one he threw last hole. And he smokes that over the street. There is OB right of the barbed wire. You get 2 meters off of it. Alan from 281. Pretty decent, it looks like. Thomas, I'm not sure what he's throwing here, but it turns over pretty eagerly. This, I think, might be... I was going to say a soft zone just by the stamp. But great shot from Mason. Again, giving himself a downwind putt. That's, you know, the theme of the day, basically. If you have the option, anyway. I can't tell if this is a bull snake from Chandler, but it lifts on him and goes long and right. Thomas for the birdie, airmails it. That's not a fun comebacker either. His phone getting up to some mischief, maybe catching Alan off guard. A little bit of a roll away there, not optimal at all. Mason to go 2 for 2. Great putt. Thomas. Unfortunate there. Thomas, there were a lot of comments about Thomas looking like Calvin Heimberg, and his putting stroke, he puts the putter up in front of his face. Great shot from Chandler. We missed his third one. Must have lifted on him a little bit to end up left on that side. Man, that wind is nasty. Great putt from Thomas. Alan, only a bogey there with the OB. Number 3 is 236 feet up the hill, and it's right there in front of you. How could you possibly not birdie it? Wind, that's how. You're gonna see. Yeah, I played this hole one day later, and the wind was just absolutely savage. I think this might be a zone from Mason. Stalls out early, fades to the left hard. Pretty tough look up that hill. Chandler with a walker. And kind of ends up a bit short. Alan. Little short, but not bad. That was hit pretty hard, it looked like. I might have caught some trees there. Couldn't quite tell. Mason lining up a jumper from 66. And I think he was laying that up, but it really looked like a half bid. Here's Chandler from 37. Pulls it a touch, and that actually got... There's a downslope on the other side of that hill. So we missed his, we missed his third again. I didn't quite get to direct the way I would have hoped as far as cameras, but number 4, there used to be a tree right off the pad here that blocked one of the lines, but now it's just fairly straight 333 into a raging 25 to 28 mile an hour headwind, and that was gusting over 35 at times, so it is brutal conditions. This is a Phoenix out of Mathson. Super beefy. Doesn't have to worry about that flipping, but he does have to worry about that table. Alan, I'm not sure what he's throwing there, but beautiful stability. Collides up, and I think he's in circle there. That is about as good as you're going to get on a windy day like today. Thomas turns it over a bit, and it snags in that clover over there. Chandler with a Seguin. Pretty new, beefy disc from Lone Star. And, oh, a very nice flare. Gets the table out of the way for him. From 120. Thomas. Putting it up. That's pretty bold to go that high. I think the wind aided a little bit. Mathson from the picnic table. Pretty well executed. Chandler wants nothing to do with that. Quick layup. Alan, that would have been a stroke on the card. There's that face cover I was mentioning. Great par. Way to clean that up. Mathson saves his. Chandler left his under the basket, I think. Yeah. I'm not gonna miss that one. That's the kind of par tapping you really want today. Mathson describing his table antics. Kind of a disappointing par there for Alan. Moving on to hole 5. It's 644 feet. This is almost dead into the headwind, and you'll see a lot of discs land probably around this area here, leaving you kind of a tunnel shot. I wouldn't recommend going high with that headwind. People are probably going to try and shoot it through this gap. Keep it low and skip it up to the basket here. OB on the right, so might make you question a forehand approach. Mathson rips that thing. Where'd it go? I guess catch cam wasn't quite ready. That was a smash though from Mathson. Alan throwing a boss here. And loses his hat, and it gets way out to the right. Again, catch cam. Not particularly useful. Also boss from Thomas. Different boss. This is an Anton boss. And it kind of stalls out, and tombstones. Seguin from Chandler. Nice, Annie. Walks away. He's like, that's fairway. Good enough for me. Y'all got any more than pixels from 401? Not a bad execution there. That could have gotten probably 40 or 50 feet farther, giving himself a much easier approach, but still not bad. Chandler ripping a Seguin. And fantastic skip. Gives himself a downwind putt. Thomas from 318. And he gets over on that. Very fortunate that he kept it low, because if that got over that ridge, that was going to be with zero chance of return. I mean, unless maybe someone kicked it over. Probably not likely, though. Beautiful rip from Mathson. And he's still going to have a little bit of work. Not bad. Definitely with the best drive of the group. Thomas. Nice, stable approach. Stays straight. Bold move hanging it out over the OB, but Alan expecting a little lift probably from that. Kind of just died on him. Mathson also probably expecting lift. I think because it's in that little bowl area, the wind didn't really get to it as much. And that is a beautiful birdie from Chandler there. That one was lifted. A little high from Thomas. This hole's typically a fairly routine par or better without the wind, but getting a couple people there. Hole number 6, fairly straightforward at 390 feet. It is a long throw in this headwind though. Sometimes you'll see that light post on the right with the telephone pole come into play. These two trees by the basket will collect their fair share of discs. OB all down the left side. On a day like today, you gotta keep the disc down because it will lift and it will blow, and you'll see lots of discs in the road. Seguin out of Chandler. That's the smart play, I think. Throw a forehand that's gonna fight into the wind. Yeah, he says it's just fine with me. Yeah, that is the safest play, I think. Ooh, little foot issue there. That's a good pull from Mathson. Except, oh my goodness, that he started that right at that telephone pole, and as I mentioned, when the wind gets up to antics, it's really easy for it to go OB on that left. Alan playing very safe, maybe a little too safe, flipped up more than he expected. And this is an Anton boss from Thomas. It flips up. Is it going to come back? Catches the far side of the fence, OB. Is fighting. That's a nice forehand. Cameraman couldn't hide his glee. Allen's gets lifted into the tree. Chandler not liking his options apparently. He's like, am I throwing a backhand? Am I? No, absolutely not a backhand. But about pin high with the jump putt. Alan, just a layup, very smart. Mathson not knowing what to do with this wind. It's probably going to lift. He has to keep it below those limbs. Kind of a low ceiling from the OB. Not a bad approach. Chandler, happy to save the par there. Even those little ones will just get people. Mathson throwing right side up. He'll sometimes on the short ones put the disc upside down to try and keep it from doing weird things. Couple of bogeys. Actually 3 bogeys there. Hole number 7, 294 feet. This little ditch here shouldn't come into play. Water all down the left side is OB. The wind is left to right here, and it is ripping. So backhands should be mostly safe. You'd have to throw the most ungodly overstable disc to somehow bring that water into play, unless you just early release it way left. Chandler going to Seguin again. Puts it way out of the water, way out over the water with the forehand. And hits the tree behind the basket long. Fairly easy to do. Mathson going with the Phoenix. Like I said, very overstable. Really hard to push through the wind into the water, especially when you started out that far right. Very safe. That's a safe miss. And it should make for a relatively easy par. This was an Invictus from Alan. I don't think those numbers are right. I think they've like retooled the Invictus because I think it was closer to like a monster, like a minus or a 0.3. Phoenix out of Thomas. Those glow Phoenixes are just beastly as far as stability. Oh, quick shot there from Chandler. Good layup. Half bid maybe from Thomas. Maybe he just got a little excitable on that upshot. Alan says no thank you. Thomas with the comebacker. Great putt. Way to save par there. Chandler. Good par there. Mathson definitely easy tap in par, easy tap in par. Number 8, par 4, 531 feet. This one has OB left in the water, OB right of the pylons. There is a little OB area that kind of peeks out here on the right side. Probably not in play today with the wind. And if you land around here, you have about a 230 upshot to the basket. And my drone is struggling with the wind a bit. Got around that corner and was like, oh dear. Turned over a bit by Chandler and tries to orchestrate it into or conduct its way to the fairway. Mathson has been throwing that stiletto all day. Nice and overstable. And it's about expected landed area in this landing area. You really have to crush one to get past that, I think. Or risk a flippier disc. Alan, not bad. A little far from the catch cam, so it stayed on that angle. This is that Anton Boss again. Nice little hyzer flip. Yeah, that's pretty much the ideal landing area. Chandler cut himself off, refuses to throw a backhand. So he's going, I think it's Seguin, up over the water, just ripping into the sky. Oh, there it is. What an approach. Alan from 300. Wind doing all sorts of nasty things to it. Mathson got up to a good way with that stiletto. That might be a zone. Some of his just don't have stamps when I was getting distances, so. Thomas. Decent forehand. Gives himself a mostly downwind putt, but Alan here. Jump putt range. Get it. Get it. Oh, pretty nice floaty bid. Decently executed. Oh, huge lift. Pretty unfortunate. Chandler just has that double bogey on number 1. But other than that, has been playing pretty cleanly. Great birdie there from Mathson. Kind of a lackluster effort, it looked like, out of the hand. That's one that you definitely want to birdie. Unfortunately for Thomas, that's going to be par. And Alan will also par. Number 9 is 270 feet. Over this water, through these trees. Definitely was cautious with the drone here. But the fairway shapes up nicely. If you get a nice overstable disc, it should mostly follow this path. Nice little meat hook in toward the basket. And the nice thing about back here is the trees kind of block a lot of the wind and kind of a little tricky camera antics. Oh, that's beautiful from Mathson. Yeah, so the wind gets blocked a little bit and it actually gives... What are Chandler's up to on this one? I mean, there is a high line, but... I forgot I left that in. Really high. There you see it over the trees. The wind actually brought it all the way back and right of the basket from the tee pad. About probably close to 30 feet. Monster out of Alan, very overstable. And keeps it safe. And then the tee pad cam didn't get Thomas's throw, so we're just going fully from the catch cam. It's a little unfortunate, but good pull. Held really straight for a Phoenix. Alan from 76. This is layup range all day. Yep. Chandler. Contemplating life in that wind. This would be a good opportunity. I wish the camera wasn't quite so zoomed in. Beggars can't be choosers. Just a touch low. Not as much lift. And again, like the trees sort of shield some of the wind, and it leads to swirling wind on putts or less lift than you'd expect. Kind of like that. Not often you're going to see misses or putts missed low into the headwind today. Thomas went to par. And it looks like Mathson, the only person who gets away with a bird. And there you have it, the front 9. Alan at +2. Mathson 3 under, pretty solid start. Thomas +3 and Chandler Kramer unfortunately +2. I mean, he really hasn't been playing too badly. It's just not a lot of opportunities in that wind. Thank you again to One Star Discs, Mint Discs with their Heart of Texas tour, and Golden Crescent Disc Golf Club for putting this event on. It is fantastic. Really something to look forward to every year. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe. Back 9 coverage is coming soon. Days 2 and 3, Saturday and Sunday, lead card coverage will be on Trail Candy on YouTube. That's the channel. So I will have Chase Card here on Disc and Balls Golf channel for days 2 and 3. As always, thank you for watching, and hopefully I see you on the course.